Listen very carefully, because what I am about to tell you is the reason 99% of men die invisible in the eyes of women, while a tiny, microscopic percentage of men who aren't necessarily richer, hotter, or better become the ones women fight over like their lives depend on it. And this is the part no one wants to admit. Women don't compete for nice guys. They don't compete for available men. They don't compete for the guy who's always there when she snaps her fingers. Women compete for the man she isn't sure she can have. The man whose energy hits her harder than her logic. The man who feels like a high-stakes prize, not a consolation trophy. And if you don't understand this dynamic, you'll spend your life chasing women you should have had effortlessly. So listen, because what I'm about to break down is the psychological blueprint behind why women chase some men like they're real and ignore others like they're background noise. The law of desire. She doesn't compete for you. She competes for what you represent. Let me paint you a picture. Think about any nightclub. Think about any college campus. Think about any social circle. There's always one just one who walks in and, without saying anything, women turn their heads. Not because he's the most handsome, not because he's the richest, not because he's some social genius, but because he walks like a man who already has options. He carries himself like someone who doesn't need validation. He speaks with the calmness of a man who's not afraid of losing anyone. Women feel that. Women are addicted to that. Women compete for that. Because humans, especially women in dating, don't value what is easy. They value what is rare. You don't fight for a bottle of water. You fight for the last bottle in the desert. And that's exactly how attraction works. The selective availability phenomenon. Here's the truth. Modern men hate hearing. You don't become desirable by being present. You become desirable by being selectively present. When you're always available, she relaxes. She feels safe. She feels certain. And certainty is the death of desire. But when you become a man who doesn't respond immediately, a man who doesn't rush, a man who doesn't fold when she pulls back, she feels something incredibly rare in modern dating: tension. And tension is the gasoline of attraction. Women don't compete for the man they feel they've already captured. They compete for the man whose presence feels unpredictable. Not toxic, not chaotic, just unpredictable enough to make her heart race. Just like a movie isn't exciting if you already know the ending, a man isn't exciting when his emotions and actions are predictable. Mystery isn't manipulation. Mystery is masculinity. Being silent at the right time is more powerful than over-explaining. Pulling back slightly creates more desire than chasing aggressively. Living your life without her at the center makes her work harder to be part of it. The self-priority shift. How men become magnetic. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Most men live as if the approval of women is oxygen. They pause their goals. They delay their dreams. They drop everything at the first vibration of a text. And then they wonder why women treat them like disposable seat warmers. But the men women compete for, the men women secretly fantasize about, the men women brag about to their friends. They don't put women at the top of the pyramid. They put themselves there. Let me give you a cultural comparison. In the movie John Wick, John isn't attractive because he's trying to impress women. He isn't flexing, posing, or begging for attention. His entire magnetism comes from one thing. He's a man who operates on his mission, not on approval. And ironically, that's what makes him irresistible. Another example. Every hit drama series from Peaky Blinders, 2 Narcos, 2 Sons of Anarchy features one archetype, the man who prioritizes his mission above romance. And because of that, women fight for a place in his life. Why? Because women instinctively chase men who are going somewhere, men who are building something, men who don't need female validation to feel valuable. When you prioritize yourself, women feel Italiano. They sense the shift instantly, because you become the opposite of what they're used to. You become rare, and what is rare becomes desired. The Crimson Tiger principle. You are the prize. Let's get brutally honest. Women don't compete over men who chase. They compete over men who make being chosen feel like a privilege. This is how powerful men operate. They answer messages when it fits their schedule. They don't over-explain or justify their decisions. They don't panic when she pulls away. They don't fear silence. They don't abandon their path because of a woman's mood swing. They know they're the prize, and women only fight for the prize. See, the biggest mistake men make is assuming women want emotional comfort first. No, women want emotional intensity first. They want to feel your energy before they understand your words. They want a sense that you could walk away, not because you don't care, but because you refuse to compromise your value. That's why the calm, collected, emotionally disciplined man will always win over the over-emotional man. That's why the quiet man gets more female attention than the loud, attention-seeking one. That's why the man with self-respect becomes the man women can't forget. The competition instinct. What nitrogen monoxide woman admits. Let me tell you something every woman knows, but no woman will ever admit out loud. loud. Women are most attracted to the man other women want. This instinct goes deep, deep, like evolutionary biology, deep, deep, like millions of years of survival instinct, deep. Throughout history, women chose the men who were already desired because desire was a signal of value, strength, stability, leadership, and resources. Today, the environment changed, but the instinct didn't. If women see that you're admired, that other women like being around you, that you're living a life that feels magnetic, they don't just become interested, they become competitive. And the moment competition enters the picture, you become infinitely more valuable. It's the same reason people pay more for a product when they see others buying it. It's the same reason the last slice of pizza suddenly becomes the one everyone wants. It's the same reason luxury brands limit supply, because scarcity equals desire. You are no different. When your time is scarce, when your attention isn't guaranteed, when your energy must be earned, women rise to the challenge. They compare themselves, they try harder, they invest more, they fight subtly, emotionally, socially, because now you're not the man who wants them. You're the man who must be one. The psychology of frame. Set the tone, or she will. Here's a rule that separates powerful men from powerless men. If you don't set the tone, she sets it for you. If you don't lead, she leads you. If you don't anchor the frame, she drags you into hers. Women compete for the man who sets the emotional rhythm, the man who sets the boundaries, the man who sets the pace. When you stay calm, she rises emotionally. When you stay grounded, she becomes invested. When you remain controlled, she becomes reactive. Your stillness creates her storm. Your stability creates her desire. Your confidence creates her competition. That's how masculine energy works. Not by force, not by aggression, but by creating a gravitational pull through discipline and self-direction. Now listen. Now listen, because this is the part that changes everything. Becoming the man women compete for is not about manipulation. It's not about playing games. It's not about faking confidence or pretending you're busy. It's about activating the psychological triggers that women respond to on a primal level. The level they don't control. The level they don't talk about. The level they can't resist. There's a training I highly recommend because it teaches exactly that. The obsession method. Inside, you'll discover how to trigger female competition instinct. The body language cues that spark instant primal desire. How to make a woman think about you nonstop. How to use silence, scarcity, and presence to make her chase. How to activate emotional imprints that make her feel addicted to you. Men are already using these techniques to shift the dynamic completely. To flip the script, to turn cold women warm, to make women invest, chase, pursue, and compete. Not because they're perfect men, but because they understand the psychology women respond to. If you want to become the man women compete for, not someday, not eventually, but starting now, tap the link below. Unlock these triggers. Learn the system. Become the man she refuses to lose. Become the storm she chases. Become the prize she fights for. Become the man she competes to keep.